Episode 4111, Plant What You Can't See.
Moms, it's time to rediscover, rejuvenate, and renew who you are in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie, the show to help you do just that. Here's your host, certified life coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist, Christiane Wargo.
Happy day. I hope you're ready for an extraordinary weekend. Oh, yes, because we are in it. It's a semi-quincentennial here for the United States of America. Yes, 250 years. It's Inspiration Motivation Day. Plant what you can't see. For those of you who are brand new to Create Your Now, welcome to this incredible family. I'm so delighted of your presence. If you already haven't had the opportunity, you want to head on over to createyournow.com, where you can learn more and sign up for the Kisses newsletter. The Keep It Simple strategy, everyday solutions to live, love, and impact. Are you ready? Get your overalls on, because we got to go plant. Did you know that no farmer has ever watched a seed disappear into the ground and known, like truly known, what would come back up? They just trust it, right? They trust what they planted. They trust that what they were told is going to come up, right? If it's corn, it's going to be corn. If it's green beans, it's going to be green beans. They have reason to trust it, built from experience and season and the testimony of every harvest that came before. But trust is not the same as certainty. And yet the farmer plants anyway. The seed goes into dark soil. And then the hardest part of any growing season, the waiting. Plant what you can't see. And honestly, that's where most of us live right now. Not at the spark, not yet at the bloom, somewhere in the middle. Hands still dirty from the planting, eyes scanning the ground for any sign that is something actually underneath there, like something's got to be happening. Am I really planting corn? Am I really going to get green beans? This is not a detour from the story. This is the story. In the summer of 1787, the founders gathered again. This time not to declare independence, but to build something that would outlast them. The Constitution they drafted would govern a nation they would never fully see. The freedoms they framed would be exercised by generations not yet born. The more perfect union they envisioned was, by their own admission, still becoming. Imagine that. Imagine creating something that you don't get to see all the way to the finish line. It's starting the race, but not knowing how it's going to end. George Washington, who presided over that constitutional convention, and he truly understood perhaps better than anyone what they were actually doing. He reflected on the weight of what they were planting and said, "The preservation of the sacred fire of liberty and the destiny of the Republican model of government are justly considered, perhaps as deeply as finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people." Did you hear that? An experiment? George Washington called it an experiment, not a guarantee, not a finished product, a seed in the ground, entrusted in hands that hadn't been born yet, entrusted to your hands and mine. That, my friend, is an extraordinary act of faith. They planted what they could not see, and 250 years later, we are still living inside the harvest of their courage. I can't help but think maybe what you're doing now is planting for someone else. Because there's this part of planting that doesn't get talked about enough. Most of what we sow, we will not be the ones to harvest. The tree you plant today will give shade to someone who hasn't been born yet. The faithfulness you practice in private will shape the character of your children in ways you won't fully see for decades. The kindness you extend without applause. The integrity you hold on to when no one is watching. The prayers you pray on your knees into what feels like an empty ceiling. All of it is going somewhere taking root in soil you may never stand on again. When you read scripture, it's always understood this. It says it. One of the most quietly, and some would call it radical verses in the Old Testament, appears in the book of Jeremiah when God addresses a people living in exile, displaced, discouraged, far from everything familiar. And his instruction to them is starting in its ordinary. And this is Jeremiah 29, verses 5 and 7. Build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat their produce. Seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare. Plant gardens in exile, in the hard season, in the place that doesn't yet feel like home. Sign me up, or maybe not. Not because a harvest is guaranteed, not because you can see the outcome, but because planting is an act of hope, and hope is an act of resistance against despair. Plant what you can't see. You know, it's very interesting when you look at where you are in your life and the season that you're in, and if you've had the blessings of being able to be a parent and seeing your children and raising them, and wherever you are in that, it takes work, doesn't it? It's not easy. It takes courage to be a mom. It takes courage to be a dad. But you know, there's a particular kind of courage required to begin something you won't finish. It's easier in a way to start something you can complete quickly, right? That project with a clear end date. It's like going to college and you know, I'm going to get a bachelor's degree if I do right? 1, 2, 3, XYZ. Yes, I got it. Certificate in hand. I got my bachelor's degree, right? That's great. Maybe it's a goal with a visible finish line. I'm going to run a marathon. I know my marathon is so many miles. I'm going to get there. There's a starting line, a finish line. Got it. A risk where the outcome will be known by morning. That kind of courage is real, but it's bounded, right? There's boundaries around it. You can see both ends of it. But the harder courage is the long kind, the kind that keeps showing up to something that will take years, the kind that plants in a season of drought and trusts that the rain will come. The kind that hands something unfinished to the next generation and says, here, carry this further than I could. Paul described the endurance of faith this way in his letter to the Galatians. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. That's Galatians 6:9. If we do not give up. How does that sit with you? If we do not give up, change it. If you do not give up. That phrase is doing a lot of work, isn't it? It acknowledges that giving up is a real deal. It's a real option. It's out there because it says, if we do not give up, if you don't give up. That's the in-between, right? And it's long enough and hard enough that quitting is always on the table. It's a real deal. It's an option. Yet it calls us forward anyway. Not because the harvest is visible yet, but because the planting itself is an act of faithfulness. My friend, what are you planting? 250 years ago, a group of imperfect visionaries, and yeah, amazing human people, right? Planted something in the ground that would take generations to grow. They did it without seeing the outcome. They did it in the middle of a war. They did it knowing they were betting their lives on the possibility of something that had never existed before. Some would say they were pulling things out of thin air. You don't have to change the course of a nation to matter. You just have to plant what's in your hands today, faithfully, hopefully, without demanding to see the harvest before you've done the work. Too many times we want to know the outcome before we say, okay, yeah, we're willing to put in the hours, the weeks, the months, the years. I can remember a long time ago when I officially started my entrepreneurial kind of walk. And I say officially, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. Seriously. It started with babysitting. And I, kind of stood out there and I was like, hey, I babysit. I was babysitting when I was in elementary school. Kind of ridiculous when you think about it. In fact, I probably was really actually watching my brother. Now I was a little bit older. I mean, we were 4 years apart. But mom and dad would do their thing and they would put me in charge. In fact, my grandmother told me, before my mom even told me this story, she was like, did you know you were responsible for your brother's diaper bag? You were responsible for putting in his milk, his diapers, the wipes, whatever mama needed, you were responsible for putting it in there. And if it wasn't in there, it was my fault. Oh, I bet you I forgot things at time. Or 2, or 3, or probably 100. And I'm sure I was told, it's not done yet. You got to keep doing it, right? And so the entrepreneurial thing was always at the beginning of my life. But when I officially started it, after the storm, God said, this is where you're headed. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not. He goes, oh, yes, you are. I'm like, okay. And Create Your Now was born. And I can't believe, we're way over a decade. We're getting close to 15 years. Oh, wait, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Because we unofficially started, we officially but unofficially started in 2013. The dream started in 2011 and 2012, and then movement started happening and things being put in motion in 2013 and beyond. And so I look at that and I'm thinking, a lot of things I did not knowing where it would take me. And I still remember 2 specific times sitting there, and it was like, okay, it was a God in me moment. One, he woke me up. I was like, oh, you've ever heard your name called out in the middle of the night? And let me tell you, it's freaky. I'm just going to say it. It was freaky. Some people would say you were dreaming it. Possibly. But it was as clear as if God was standing right there. And it was my name, and it woke me up, and I sat straight up out of bed like, who was that? And I even looked over at my husband thinking it's him. But nope. It was at that weird time when my husband's in deep REM sleep. He didn't know what was happening, but I sure did. To this day, I still have that notebook and the scribbles that came at that moment that I wrote down. And I had my phone and held it just slightly, barely on with the light. There's no flashlight on it. This was before the phones had flashlights, okay? You just could tap the screen with hopes that it wasn't too bright so you could kind of see what was going on. And so there the light reflected enough for me to kind of write some things. And even to this day, when I look at it once in a while, I'm like, wow, I'm glad I even can read what I wrote, because it was in the middle of the night. Faithfully, hopefully, being willing to do the work, even before you know the outcome. Sometimes I think if it was going to take me this long to put a few things together regarding the website and making some changes, would I would have done it? Maybe not. But God never told me to stop. And sometimes I think the fallacies that we have as human beings is we want to know the outcome. We want a guarantee. We want to know that when we invest in something, we're going to get something out of it, right? And that may be like taking your dollar and literally putting it in the bank and knowing that you're going to get 0.005% on that every month, or whatever the rate is. But it's something, right? It's a guaranteed. But a lot of things that we're really meant to do doesn't come with a guarantee. The only requirement is that you remain faithful. My friend, the seed you bury today might be a conversation you finally have, a commitment you finally quietly renew, a dream you stop waiting for permission to pursue, a child you keep showing up for, even in the seasons when you don't get even a thank you. A prayer you keep praying on your knees even when the sky feels silent. Plant it anyway. You're not just living your own story, you're planting into the lives of people who will come after you. People who will one day stand in the shade of something you started without even knowing your name. That is not a small thing. That's in fact everything. One generation commends your works to another. They tell of your mighty acts. A beautiful psalm, 145, verse 4. My friend, plant what you can't see. Trust the soil. Keep showing up. God's got you. The harvest has a way of coming exactly when it was always meant to. Go in peace. Be present. Be incredible. Be you. I love you so very much. I cannot wait to see you on the other side. Blessings, hugs, and lots of love. We'll talk to you real soon. Have a beautiful, blessed weekend, and happy semi-quincentennial US of A. Bye-bye.
Feeling inspired, ready to train for life and love your journey? Visit createyournow.com for more incredible resources to help you along the way. We'll see you next time on Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie. And remember, always be sure you consult your physician before beginning any health and fitness plan.